History Spotlight, brought to you by HEC Media and the Missouri Historical Society.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jody Sowell, president of the Missouri Historical Society in St. Louis, and this is History Spotlight. St. Louisans love celebrating the 4th of July with barbecues, parades, and of course, fireworks. Historical records show little change from the first Independence Day picnics held following the Louisiana Purchase to the more recent Celebrate St. Louis. Chris Gordon, MHS Director of Library and Collections, explains how St. Louisans have always loved celebrating our nation's birthday.
St. Louisans love to celebrate the 4th of July. The earliest 4th of July celebrations go all the way back to the early 19th century, right after the conclusion of the Louisiana Purchase. People would gather to celebrate Independence Day in many ways the way we do today, in picnics and celebrations and so forth. Typically in the early 19th century, there were many organized banquets or very large picnics on the 4th of July. And they tended to include toasts. There would be all kinds of speeches by politicians and prominent individuals talking about the story of independence, usually extolling the virtues of men like George Washington. And every time that they would talk about these individuals, they would stop and they would toast to these individuals. They would often shoot off cannons, sometimes between each toast. There were 4th of July parades. Often these parades were organized by the local fire companies. Before 1858, when the municipal fire department was founded, there were independent private fire departments. And these were kind of like fraternal organizations. So they would dress up in their uniforms, they would have big 4th of July parades and picnics. And then as the years progress, you start to see fireworks included in these 4th of July celebrations. And it's pretty interesting, in the late 1900s, in order to control the use of fireworks in the city, because obviously then as of now, they're a fire hazard, you actually had to go down to City Hall and get a permit if you wanted to fire off fireworks in front of your home. They were also having larger and larger events at places like Creve Coeur Lake. Much more of what you consider modern celebrations, with families coming out, spending the day at the park, bringing picnic baskets and things like that you see today. There were many notable 4th of July events, including a 4th of July event at the 1904 World's Fair. There was a parade through the fairgrounds. Then later on, we see events such as Fair St. Louis. And this is established in the late 1960s through the more modern era, where you see things like air shows that are included and bands. And then every suburban area would have their own individual parades through places like Webster Groves and Kirkwood as well. So St. Louis has always had a very vibrant 4th of July celebration history that continues to this day.
Next on History Spotlight, a woman veterinarian that dramatically improved animal care in Missouri.
To learn more about the Missouri Historical Society, visit mohistory.org.